People are really out here saying the looming WNBA lockout is Caitlin Clark's fault. At first glance, that sounds ridiculous. She's the one breaking ratings, selling out arenas, dragging new fans into the league. How could that possibly be on her? But if you stop reacting emotionally for a second and really think about what's happening, there actually is a twisted kind of truth buried in that take. Not that Caitlin did anything wrong, but that her talent and star power have completely changed the economics of the WNBA, and everyone is scrambling so hard to cash in on this new reality that they might blow up a 2026 season that doesn't exist yet. So yeah, in that sense, all of this chaos really does trace back to her. Let's unpack it. The CBA deadline is staring the WNBA and the Players Union in the face. We've already seen it pushed back. The latest date is January 9. No new agreement is in place. The union has already authorized a strike if they think they need to go there. Owners have the lockout card in their back pocket, and every credible sign we're seeing says the two sides are nowhere near each other. That's not just a labor dispute, that's the existence of the 2026 WNBA on the line. Now ask yourself, if Caitlin Clark never came along, would any of this be playing out the same way? Probably not. Before she hit the league, the WNBA had been grinding for decades. Great talent, loyal fans, small but steady growth. But the business side was flat. TV numbers were modest, franchise valuations were modest, salaries, even for the very best players in the world, were flat out low compared to the workload and risk. Then, Caitlin showed up and everything flipped almost overnight. Games she played in more than tripled average viewership compared to games without her. When she got hurt, numbers took a hit immediately. When she came back, even in a USA basketball context, you could see the spike and then the drop when casuals didn't get what they wanted. It's obvious, for a huge segment of the new audience, she is the product. Look at the 2024 finals. She wasn't even on the floor in that series, and the ratings still jumped to around 1.6 million viewers, far ahead of pre-Caitlin Clark years, because people who found the W through her were still hanging around. The W turned around and signed a bi-billion-dollar media rights deal kicking in with this new era. Expansion franchises are now paying $250 million just to get a seat at the table. Sponsors that never cared before are fighting for placement, and the players looked at all of that, then looked at what they were making under the old CBA and said, no more. You can't blame them for that. In the last agreement, the max salary was under $250,000. The average was closer to $120,000. Minimums hovered in the mid-$60K range. For world-class athletes playing year-round between WNBA and overseas, it was wild. Now, with Caitlin drawing millions of eyeballs, with expansion checks and big-name brands stepping up, the players are done being humble about their value. The union is pushing for around 30% of gross league revenue, full charter travel, better facilities, bigger rosters, more benefits, at a team salary cap more than triple what it used to be. Here's the part that ties directly back to Caitlin Clark. Without her detonating the interest levels like she did, the players would not have nearly this kind of leverage or urgency. If she didn't exist, everyone would probably have quietly renewed something similar to the old deal. They wouldn't have the TV numbers and attendance spikes to point to. They wouldn't have seeing teams like Chicago or Dallas playing in NBA arenas for a night purely because she's there. The extra money, the bargaining power, the confidence to say we can and should aim for NBA-style revenue splits all got supercharged by the Caitlin Clark effect. So when you hear someone half joking, half angry saying this is all Caitlin Clark's fault, what they really mean is her greatness made people see how much money is actually floating around women's basketball, and now the players are demanding their piece. But here's where the W started stepping on its own feet.
Instead of embracing this wave of new fans and building long-term around them, a lot of people inside the ecosystem went to war with them. You had sections of WNBA Twitter, some players, and even pockets of media painting Clark's fan base as racist, toxic, or not real fans. You had investigations into fan behavior at games that, fair or not, were broadly understood as being aimed at Caitlin's supporters. You had Fever opponents and some veterans openly complaining about how crowds cheering for her instead of the home team. You saw people get tossed from arenas for laughing at a wig falling off, or for protesting calls too loudly. There were specific incidents too. Some Aces and Liberty fans acting up, Sky fans furious during certain Angel Reese moments, veterans like Kalia Copper frustrated about how Bonner was treated when she returned to Indiana after leaving. The common thread was this sense that longtime WNBA culture resented how loud, demanding, and sometimes ignorant of history these new fans were. And in a lot of cases, that criticism wasn't wrong. There is a segment of CCFC that behaves horribly online, harassing players, bringing race into every discussion, acting like the league started in 2023. But instead of separating that toxic fringe from the millions of casuals just curious about Caitlyn and the W, a lot of people inside the community blasted the entire wave. That's where Rachel Demita's comments hit hard. On her podcast, she pointed out something nobody in the union or league offices should be ignoring. Those new fans everyone has insulted are the exact reason players have as much leverage as they do right now. They're the reason the Fever had to move games from small college gyms into NBA arenas. They're the reason Paige Beckers got to play at American Airlines Center in Dallas when Iowa came to town. They're why Angel Reese ended up in big-time venues like the United Center when Caitlyn's Fever visited. Those games weren't getting booked there because the team presidents suddenly found extra love for women's hoops. They were there because ticket demand for Clark was off the charts. Those same new fans are why brands want to invest more, why TV partners are willing to write bigger checks, why owners are talking about higher valuations. And yet, as Demita said, that group has been pushed away from the jump, called names, written off as horrible, shunned by some WNBA players and media voices, investigated, mocked, told they're not real supporters because they don't know who won the 2012 title off the top of their head. Her point was simple. You can't spend 2 years telling that wave of people they're garbage and then turn around and use their numbers in every negotiation and press release to say, look how hot the league is right now. From her angle, and from a lot of fans' perspective, it feels hypocritical. She also made another really important point. All of this endless public CBA talk is burning people out. Regular fans are tired. Even WNBA diehards on Twitter, people who've been riding for this league forever, are posting, "Just let me know when this is over. I can't keep up with every leak." Demita suggested that both sides, owners and union, should keep these negotiations more in-house, handle business quietly, stop using Instagram and X as weapons to win the optics battle. Right now, the WNBA PA has been very public. They've posted statements, they've taken shots at ownership. At one point, things got so heated that some owners publicly accused the union of lying about aspects of investigations and financials. That's ugly. That's not normal. The union seems obsessed with trying to win fans over to their side. But the truth is, fans don't vote on CBAs. Owners and players do. Fans just decide whether they still care once it's all done, or once a season gets canceled. So we're in this bizarre situation where Caitlyn Clark's star power blows the doors open, bringing millions of new eyes to the W. A chunk of players and media attack those new fans for being the wrong kind. The WNBA PA and league leadership then turn around and use the attendance and ratings those same fans created as proof that there's more money to be squeezed out of the system. Negotiations drag on, the public gets sick of hearing about it, and everyone edges closer to a lockout or strike that could wipe out Caitlyn's third year and burn the exact momentum they're all trying to monetize. The one person consistently saying, "Fight for what we deserve, but don't screw this up," is Caitlyn herself. When she talks about the CBA, she calls this the biggest moment the WNBA has ever seen. She says players absolutely should push for more, and she's not wrong, but she also says straight up that this is not something that can be messed up, and that at the same time, we need to play basketball. That perspective hits different when you realize she's only 24. A lot of players her age don't even fully understand the union structure they're in. Some have literally admitted they only recently learned they were in a union. The legal and financial language is confusing even for people who cover this stuff full-time, let alone for players whose main job is to hoop. That's why she's not trying to be the spokesperson for every aspect of the labor fight. She doesn't chase the spotlight on these topics. It just finds her. And when it does, she's trying to balance realism with ambition. But outside of her, it feels like a lot of voices are either dug in or more worried about winning public opinion battles than doing the ugly compromise work behind closed doors. So, where does that leave us? We're on the edge of a possible lockout or strike. Owners are tired of being called villains while also being asked to triple their payroll. Players are tired of being told to be grateful when they've seen what they actually generate. New fans, many of whom arrived because they saw a Caitlyn clip on TikTok one night and thought, okay, let me check this out, are wondering why every discussion around the WNBA now sounds like a labor podcast instead of a game broadcast. And in the middle of all of it sits Caitlyn Clark, the so-called golden goose. She's the reason the numbers look the way they do. She's the reason brands are suddenly fighting over inventory. She's the reason owners even feel like there is a future worth arguing over. So when someone says, half-jokingly, this is all Caitlyn's fault, what they're really saying is, if she wasn't this good, if she hadn't captured this many eyeballs this fast, everybody would have calmly stayed in their lane. They would have renewed a smaller deal. They wouldn't be pushing this hard. They wouldn't be this close to blowing the whole thing. That's the risk of greatness. It doesn't just raise your own ceiling. It forces everyone around you to decide whether they're going to rise with it or tear the house down trying. The W has never had a player like Caitlyn Clark in terms of crossover impact. That's reality. The players now have a chance to cash in on that. Not just her, but all of them. The owners have a chance to grow their investment into something sustainable and real. If they play this right, everyone wins. Higher salaries, better conditions, more fans, a bigger platform, a deeper league that doesn't just rely on one name. If they play it wrong, we end up with a lost season, alienated fans, and the narrative that women's basketball couldn't handle its own breakthrough. So yeah, in a way, you can say it's Caitlyn Clark's fault that everything feels so tense. Her star got too big to ignore. Now it's on the rest of the WNBA, players and owners, to prove they know what to do with that kind of light. Because if they don't, this moment doesn't come back.